So I showed some problems. We've shown some solutions. We've shown what I think those solutions could do for you if you could identify some and bring them in earlier. Then how do you design this product where you can differentiate yourself for future benchmarks? Well, first thing is we've got to talk about what are those benchmarks? Where are they today? So handsets, years ago, some of us in this room are probably too young to remember that when you bought your handset, it was all about talk time and standby time. Those days are gone, passé, not available, because it doesn't represent the features that are in the phone now. And who was one of the first to make that move towards reporting more features that represent the convergence and the features in the handset? Apple did. Apple's now talking about video time, web surfing time. Yeah, they still include the talk time and standby time so that I feel comfortable when I buy one. But that's not it. We're still not where those future benchmarks are going. The fundamental flaw so far has been we're not representing the usage features and the usage itself. So what you'll see is, and I predict this, you will see multimedia time will become a new benchmark for handsets. And basically what it is we did it for cars, by the way. You just back up and look at cars. What do you get for gas mileage? Miles per gallon, miles in the city. That same concept needs to come to handsets. So take a look at a handset, and what do you do with it? You can take three profiles, a light user, an average user, and a heavy user. And you can say, well, this light user has 30 minutes of phone calls and 20 minutes of text and so much MP3. And with this handset, and we test it, what's the number we get? Then you can do the average user. Then you can do the heavy user. And the end result is, in the future, when you do your designs, if your design is designed with this in mind, and the user goes to the store and says, you know, I'm that heavy user, what do I really get out of this handset? He's really going to know. He's not going to say, what's the talk time and standby time? And oh, by the way, if I buy this and only watch video, how much time do I get? Because that's not realistic. I'm going to make some phone calls. I'm going to do some text messaging, and that profile looks like me. This is where the future of benchmarks are going. You're going to see benchmarks that change that represent not just the features, but the usage of those features through maybe 3 or 4 categories of users. Then you'll really know what you're getting. So we talked about benchmarks, and we talk about green. Now, when I bring this up at the company, people are like, Jim, green's a great concept. We should all be green. We should design for green. It's good for the environment. It's good for the earth. And I also have some people that stop by my office and they go, Jim, it's just a cell phone. It's not that much power. What are you talking about? And, come on, Jim. It's like, no, do the numbers. Do the math. Every little bit helps the planet. Every little bit makes a difference. So first thing is you kind of have to put yourself into a little bit of a history lesson to kind of get where I'm going with this. Now, I'm old, but I'm not so old that I can't remember where we had one phone for every town. But I do remember when we had one phone for every house, and there was a party line. In some of the rural areas, anybody remember that? Yeah, one line, it served like 20 houses. If you picked up the line, you could hear what your neighbors were talking about. Yeah. Now, I know you didn't do that. Yeah, I did. But then there was one phone for every home, and there's one phone for every hand, and now they're talking about one phone for everything. Well, what does that mean? There's 3 billion handset users in the world. What does one for everything mean? It's more than the 6 billion people on the planet. It's 50 billion machines. So as you work on your designs and you're thinking green, think of the impact you could have. It's not 3 billion handset guys. It's 6 billion people. It's 50 billion machines. And that's where this whole thing's headed. So how does green work? How could you really pull green into a handset that really doesn't use that much energy? We're not talking about billions of cars and carbon monoxide. It's actually pretty compelling. If you took just one of those disruptive technologies, just one, and did the 30%, right? 20, 30%, and you had every handset use it around the world. So I'm talking about just 3 billion handsets. I'm not talking about 50 billion machines. The savings on power alone is equivalent to 2 power plants in California. Or, something that might get your attention better is $250 million in taxpayer money. It's about 140 megawatts. That's bigger than I thought. What about landfills? We all know these batteries have a charging, and they have a recycling charge lifetime, right? You can charge, decharge, charge, decharge. You can know so many, 500 times now on the lithium-ion battery, 500, 600 times. cycle, life of it. Just by doing this and improving the usage, 30% more in between charges. What does it have on here? 8,000 tons don't go to the landfill. That's quite a bit. It's 500 million handsets, batteries, 500 million batteries. One step further, when they throw the battery away and it doesn't work anymore, what do? You go buy another battery. It's about $9 billion per year that you would save to the consumer. So green's not bad. Actually, green's pretty compelling. The numbers were much bigger than I even thought myself, let alone some of the naysayers that stopped by my office. So what do you get from all this? We talked about this, the problems. We talked about some of the solutions. We talked about the benchmarks of the future. We talked about designing for green. You can boil this talk down to just a few bullet points. The first one's obvious. Convergence is here. It's upon us. It's only going to drive this power gap more. I don't think anyone would argue that in the room. The second is supply-side solutions appear to be distant and impractical. Supply-side solutions appear to be distant and impractical. For significant demand-side reductions, disruptive innovations are required. This is where I talked about getting a 20% gain from one of those or a 75% gain from all of them versus just 20% from all of that, which is hard work. And until supply becomes ubiquitous, I believe there will always be a gap in the supply and demand energy for mobile devices. Until supply becomes ubiquitous. Now let me help you out here. That doesn't mean an AC plug-in on every street corner. Okay? It doesn't mean a solar charger that looks like my lunchbox when I was in grade school. When it becomes ubiquitous, when it's everywhere, there'll always be a power gap. That will never go away. The design should reflect future benchmarks that are indicative of actual usage of the applications. Not, how long can I run video on this thing and leave the room? How long can this thing surf the web when I'm not around? What does it really do for me, the user, and put my usage profile on there? And then design for green. Every little bit counts. So I leave you with this quote. The difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from old ones. How do you escape? Embrace the future as early as you can. When you see those disruptive technologies that give us those big gains, reach back and pull them into your designs. Now, let me take a minute on this. When you look at Christensen's curve that talks about disruptive technologies and how they get into the market, they always start at the low end of performance and they reach their way towards the higher end of performance. Well, when they're down here, a lot of us are like, I'm not really going to pay attention to that. I'll wait until she looks a little bit better. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer. Don't wait. Grab it and bring it in earlier. Embrace the future now. Embrace future designs for metrics and put it into the handset and embrace those green concepts because every bit counts. So thank you and have a great conference. That's it.